Let's start with a feeling that I think is, well, it's pretty universal, even if we don't always like to talk about it. It's that sensation. You wake up and you feel less like a captain steering your own ship and more like a cork just bobbing on a really rough ocean. You know exactly what I mean, right? The waves push you left, so you go left. The wind blows right, you go right. You open your phone, and suddenly the news is dictating your mood. An email comes in, and that dictates your blood pressure. By the time the day's over, you're not just tired, you're spiritually drained because
Yeah,
you've just spent the whole day reacting.
that's a defining condition for so many people. It's a state of being porous. You have no real boundaries between your internal world and all the external chaos. You're essentially letting the world drive the car while you're just sitting in the passenger seat, screaming.
That's a terrifying image, but it's so accurate. And I think
Yeah.
we accept it as normal. We think, well, life is busy, life is stressful, this is just how it is. But then every once in a while, you meet someone who sort of disrupts that idea. You meet the person who isn't the cork, they're the rock. The chaos hits them, the deadlines pile up, people around them are freaking out, and the
Mhm.
water just washes around them, they stay steady. And what the most annoying is they seem to have this reserve of energy that just doesn't run out.
The cork and the rock.
Hmm.
I like that. It's the fundamental distinction we're looking at today. It's the difference between a reactive life and a truly creative one. And we're going to explore this through our ongoing series on Ralph Waldo Trine's classic, In Tune with the Infinite. Today, we're getting into the chapter that I honestly believe is the engine room of the entire book. It's called Coming into Fullness of Power.
Coming into fullness of power. Okay, I have to be honest. When I first read that title, I kind of rolled my eyes a little. It sounds so grand, like something from a superhero movie or, a late night infomercial promising you can rule the world. It feels a bit disconnected from, paying the mortgage and dealing with traffic.
I get that. I completely understand that reaction because the word power has been, well, it's been hijacked. In our culture, when we hear power, we usually think of the domination. We think of the corner office, the person who can fire people, the loudest voice in the room.
Right. Or the biggest bank account. It's something you use against someone else.
Exactly. But Trine is talking about something radically different. This isn't political power or financial leverage. He's talking about inner alignment. He's defining power as the ability to stand in your own center and maintain your own frequency, regardless of what the world is throwing at you. It's not about controlling the waves. It's about stabilizing your boat.
So it's an inside job then. It's about self-command, not world command.
Precisely. And the fascinating thing is, when you actually look at the mechanics he's proposing, they map perfectly onto modern psychological concepts. We're talking about resilience, emotional intelligence. This isn't just mystical thinking. It's a manual for psychological durability.
I really want to get into those mechanics because I think we could all use that durability right now. But before we open the toolbox, just a quick request for everyone listening. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one. It really does help us keep these conversations going.
So let's dig in. If power isn't domination, what is it exactly?
Well, based on the text, he gives us a definition that feels really practical. If I have to translate fullness of power into just plain English, it feels like a combination of things like calm confidence, steady attention, a clean intention, and consistent action. It's the ability to do what you actually intend to do without getting derailed by your own emotions or, other people's drama.
Calm confidence and steady attention. I want to pause on that for a second because that combination is so rare. Think about the modern workplace.
Yeah.
We often mistake hustle for power. We think the person running down the hall, shouting into a phone, multitasking on 3 screens, the one bragging about how little they slept.
Yeah.
That's the powerful one. We've made stress into a status symbol.
Oh, absolutely. If you're not stressed, you must not be working hard enough. It's a badge of honor.
Right. And Trine would look at that person, the one just vibrating with stress and caffeine, and he would say, that's not power. That is weakness masking itself as activity.
Weakness masking as activity. Ooh, that's a brutal takedown.
It is, but it's necessary. Think about it in terms of physics. In a machine, if there's a lot of noise and heat and friction, is that a sign of an efficient engine?
No, it's the opposite. It's a sign of energy loss.
Exactly. True power is efficient. It's quiet. It achieves the result without all the burnout. The reason the hustler burns out is because they're running on a finite battery, just their own adrenaline. Trine is arguing for a way to plug into the grid.
Let's talk about that grid. This brings us to the first big idea here, the source of power. Trine has this concept of the internal architect. He writes, and I'm paraphrasing here, that we build our world from the inside out. There's a line that really stopped me. Within yourself lies the cause of whatever enters into your life. Now hold on. That's a heavy statement. If I get rear-ended in traffic, or the economy crashes, are we saying I caused that? Because that starts to sound a lot like victim blaming.
And that's the most common and valid objection to this kind of philosophy if we take it too literally. Trine isn't saying you telepathically attracted a car accident. He's not talking about magical thinking, controlling the weather. He's talking about the quality of your life experience and your agency and how you respond to it. He's saying that the cause of your happiness, your stability, your peace, that's internal, not external.
It really reminds me of that psychological concept, the locus of control. I think we've touched on this before.
Yes, from Julian Rotter's work. It's the perfect modern parallel. Rotter distinguished between an external locus of control and an internal one. People with an external locus, they look at their lives and say, I'm unhappy because of my boss or my bad luck or the government. They are the cork. They believe the power is out there. So they're helpless until out there decides to change.
Which is just a recipe for anxiety because you can't control out there.
Exactly. It creates what we call learned helplessness. But people with an internal locus believe, I might not control the event, but I control my response, my preparation, my character. Trine is just taking this to a spiritual level. He's saying the blueprint of your life is drawn in your mind. If that blueprint is chaotic and full of fear, the house you build will always be shaky, no matter how good the external materials are.
So if I'm constantly feeling powerless, it's not necessarily because my job is hard, but because I'm hopped. I'm building a structure of powerlessness inside myself first.
Precisely. You're leaking energy before you even start the work. And the way to fix the building isn't to run around frantically painting the walls, which is what we usually do. It's to go back to the architect's table and change the blueprint. This leads us to what Trine calls the divine sequence.
The divine sequence. It sounds very mysterious, maybe a little esoteric, but he explains it with a really simple analogy. The drop of water and the ocean. Can you walk us through that one?
It's a beautiful image. So imagine a single drop of water. It has the same chemical makeup as the ocean, right? It's made of the exact same stuff. But you take that one drop, separate it from the ocean, and flick it onto a hot sidewalk. What happens?
It's gone in a second. It evaporates. It's totally powerless.
Right? It's isolated.
Yeah.
It's small. It has no momentum.
Yeah.
But if you take that same drop and put it back in the ocean, it becomes part of something massive. It moves with the tide. It can wear down rocks. It has the weight of the entire ocean behind it. Trine argues that we are exactly like that drop. When we think we're separate, it's me against the world. When we rely only on our own gritty little willpower, we're the drop on the sidewalk, we burn out.
So aligning with the infinite spirit or the divine inflow, whatever words you want to use, is really about realizing you're part of a much larger system.
Yes. And you can look at this in a completely secular way, too. It's about systems theory. An open system that allows energy to flow through it thrives. A closed system eventually dies of entropy. When you align with what Trine calls the divine sequence, you're flowing with the current of reality instead of swimming against it. He suggests there are universal laws like integrity, connection, service, truth. When your life aligns with those, you get the ocean's power backing you up. You're sailing with the wind.
This brings up that critical distinction you mentioned earlier between power and force. I used to use those words interchangeably, but in this context, they're opposite.
They're polar opposites. Let's look at force. Force is what happens when the little drop tries to be powerful all by itself. It's the ego trying to manipulate reality. Force is the pessimist. It's the fearful state. It's trying to get a result through tension, through bullying, cutting corners, sheer exhaustion. You might get the result. You might force the project to finish, but look at the cost. You leave a trail of debris, you damage relationships, and you end up totally depleted.
That's that burnout culture again. You force the outcome, but you hate your life while you're doing it.
Exactly. That is force. No, power. True fullness of power is the optimist, the aligned state. It's a divine inflow. It's sustainable. It's like the difference between pushing a car uphill, which is force, and driving the car with the engine on, which is power. The key takeaway here is you can't have power if you're cut off from the source of power. If you lack inner integrity, if you're disconnected from your values, you're always just pushing the car.
Yeah.
And you will always run out of strength.
So if we want this, limitless battery life, we need to stop relying on force and start connecting to power. But here's the problem. I feel like most of us have leaks in our battery. We wake up, maybe we have a moment of clarity, but then we check the news or we get a snarky comment from a colleague and whoosh, the energy's just gone. Trine talks about this, doesn't he?
He does. He basically performs what we might call an energy audit. He says that what drains our power usually isn't the big external enemies. It's not the market crashing or the difficult boss. It's the internal misalignment. We are leaking power all day long through our emotional habits.
Okay, let's go through these leaks, because I have a feeling everyone listening is going to recognize at least one or two of them. The first one he mentions is the big one, fear and worry.
Fear and worry. Trine describes them as corroding forces. He uses this very visceral language, saying they eat away at our internal machinery like rust.
And modern science backs this up completely. It's not just a metaphor.
It is pure biology. Let's talk about the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. When you worry, your brain signals a threat. Your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline. It's a survival mechanism designed to help you run from a bear. But when you're sitting at your desk worrying about an email, you're not running. So that chemical cocktail just sits in your system. It increases inflammation, it suppresses your immune system, and crucially for this conversation, it shuts down your prefrontal cortex.
Which is the CEO of the brain, right? The part for logic, creativity, planning.
The CEO, exactly. So when you're in a state of fear, you literally lower your own IQ. You cut yourself off from your fullness of power because you've chemically disabled your higher functions. You can't think clearly or act wisely when you're corroded by worry. You're just reacting from the lizard brain.
Another leak he points out is resentment and anger. He calls them expensive emotions. I really like that framing.
It's a perfect metaphor. Every emotion has a cost. Think of your mental energy like a bank account. You only have so much you can spend each day. Resentment is like paying a mortgage on a house you don't even live in anymore. You're spending huge amounts of mental currency reliving a past wrong, or fuming about someone else's behavior, or having imaginary arguments in the shower.
The imaginary arguments. I've won hundreds of those, but I never feel better afterwards.
You never do. You feel exhausted. That is energy that could be used for creation, for solving problems, for loving your family. But instead, you're spending it on anger. It's a terrible investment. Trine says the powerful person simply can't afford the luxury of a negative emotion. It's just too expensive.
What about ego and approval seeking? I feel like social media has turned this into a massive power leak for pretty much everyone. We're constantly performing.
It is a massive leak. If your sense of stability depends on how other people see you, then you have no center of your own. You've outsourced your power to the crowd. Trine says trying to control how others see you is an impossible task that just drains you dry. You're constantly adjusting your mask, checking for reactions, spinning the narrative. It's exhausting to be an actor on a stage 24 hours a day. True power is being so secure in your own integrity that you don't need the applause. You can just rest.
He mentions a few more subtle ones, too. Contradiction. Saying one thing but doing another.
That splits your energy. If you say you value health but you eat junk food every night, or you say you value honesty but you lie to your spouse, you've got a civil war going on inside of you. A house divided against itself cannot stand. You're using half your energy to fight the other half. When you align your actions with your values, all your energy flows in one direction. That's power.
And over-explaining. This one surprised me. Why is over-explaining a power leak?
Because it's a sign of insecurity. Watch truly powerful people. They state their case, and then they stop talking. When you speak your truth, and then you spend the next 10 minutes apologizing for it, or qualifying it, or justifying it, you're signaling that you don't really believe you have the right to your own thoughts. It dilutes your message. Power speaks clearly, and then it can sit in the silence.
And finally, people-pleasing. Giving away your center.
Which is really just fear wearing a nice dress. It's the fear of rejection. When you people please, you're letting someone else drive your car. You're saying, my needs are irrelevant. I will just become whatever you need me to be to avoid conflict. You disappear. And you can't be powerful if you aren't even there.
Trine gives us a really powerful metaphor to visualize all of this. He talks about the clean windows.
Yes. This is one of my favorite images in the whole book because it shifts the focus entirely. Imagine your mind is a room with windows looking out on the world. If those windows are covered in the grime of fear, pessimism, resentment, and ego, then when you look out, what do you see?
A dirty, hostile, ugly world.
Right. Now, the mistake we make, the force approach, is we run outside with a rag and try to scrub the trees and the sky. We try to fix the world to make it look better. We try to change other people, force outcomes, manipulate situations so they don't scare us.
Which is impossible. You can't scrub the sky.
Exactly. It's futile and it's exhausting. Trine says, save your energy. Stop trying to clean the world. Clean your windows. Deal with your own fear. Deal with your own resentment. When you wipe that glass clean, suddenly the light comes in. The world looks brighter not because the world changed, but because your perception cleared. You waste power trying to clean the world. You gain power by cleaning your windows.
That's such a helpful visual. I want to move us into the practical application, though. We've talked about the theory, power is internal, leaks are expensive, but it's easy to say, be calm when you're sitting in a quiet room reading a book. How does a regular person apply fullness of power on a Tuesday morning when everything is on fire? We've broken this down into 3 domains: work, relationships, and habits. Let's start with work.
This is where the rubber really meets the road. Let's paint a scenario. You're at work, it's 2 in the afternoon, you have 3 deadlines looming, your boss just sent a cryptic email, your notifications are pinging every 30 seconds, you feel that rising heat in your chest, panic.
A classic overwhelmed state. I think most people just live there.
Right. Now, the reactive response, the one based on force, is to speed up. You try to multitask, you start checking email while you're on a conference call, you rush, you send sloppy work, you snap at your team. You're just churning the water, trying to survive. You are the cork.
But the objection would be, I have to do that. If I don't multitask, I won't get it all done.
And that is the great lie of the modern workplace. Neuroscience tells us that multitasking is a myth. The brain cannot do 2 complex cognitive tasks at once. It just task switches very quickly. And every time you switch, you pay a switch cost. It takes time and energy to refocus. So when you think you're doing everything at once, you're actually slowing down and lowering your IQ.
So what is the fullness of power response in that moment of panic?
The fullness of power response is to stop, take a breath, and do the next right task. Just one.
That sounds almost too simple to actually work.
It is simple, but it requires immense discipline. Instead of reacting to the pressure of the 10 things you have to do, you align with the divine sequence. You say, right now I'm writing this report. And you bring your full, calm attention to that one action. You do it with quality. You do it with steady attention. When it's done, you move to the next thing.
So it's about narrowing your focus to the immediate reality instead of the mental projection of the entire workload.
It is about closing the gap between your mind and your body. Stress happens when your body is typing an email, but your mind is in a meeting that happens in an hour. Power happens when your mind and your body are in the same place. You move through the pile of work like a hot knife through butter, rather than hacking at it with a dull spoon. You're actually faster because you're not wasting energy on the anxiety of what if.
I love that. Hot knife through butter. Okay, let's move to the second example. Relationships. This one's tough because other people are so unpredictable.
Relationships are the ultimate test of power because you just can't control the other variable. Let's say there's a conflict, a misunderstanding. Or maybe someone's just acting badly, they're being rude, or they're attacking you, or they're just in a foul mood.
My instinct, the reactive response, is to defend myself, to argue back, prove them wrong, to win the interaction, or, if I'm being passive, to just shut down and sulk.
Both of those are reactions. They're force. You're trying to control the other person or control their opinion of you. And as we know, trying to control another adult is like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. It's messy and it doesn't work.
So what does fullness of power look like here? Do I just sit there and take it? Do I become a doormat?
Absolutely not. And this is a crucial distinction. Power is not weakness. It's not submission. The fullness of power response is to speak truth calmly. Trine has this beautiful phrase. He says, love takes no account of evil.
Love takes no account of evil. That sounds very biblical. What does that mean in the middle of a heated argument?
It means you don't let their evil, their bad mood, their rudeness, their confusion enter your system. You create an emotional quarantine. You stand in your own center. You don't need to force them to agree with you to feel okay. You state your boundary. You say, I am not willing to have this conversation while you are shouting. You say what's true for you, but you do it without malice. You do it without that desperate need to dominate them.
So it's the difference between screaming, don't talk to me like that, which is a reaction, and saying calmly, I will not be spoken to like that, which is a statement of fact.
Exactly. One is an invitation to a fight. The other is a sovereign statement. When you speak calmly from your center, a couple of things happen. First, you often diffuse the situation because you're not feeding the fire. Mirror neurons kick in, and sometimes they'll calm down to match you. But second, and this is the most important part, even if they keep raging, you remain steady. You haven't lost your power to their chaos. You walk away with your battery still full.
Okay, third example. Habits. This is for everyone who's ever tried to start a new routine, exercise, meditation, writing, and failed. We all know that cycle. January 1st, we're going to change everything. January 15th, we're back on the couch.
It's a classic scenario. You want to get in shape. The reactive response is to rely on these bursts of willpower. You decide you're going to go to the gym for 2 hours every single day. You run 5 miles on Tuesday. You starve yourself. That is intensity. That is force. You're trying to beat your body into submission.
And it works for about 3 days.
Until soreness hits or life gets busy, and then you crash. And then comes the guilt. I'm lazy, I'm a failure.
And that's another power leak right there, the guilt.
A huge one. The fullness of power response is different. It chooses consistency over intensity.
Consistency over intensity.
Trine talks about the silent, subtle forces. In modern neuroscience, we talk about wiring the basal ganglia. That's the part of the brain that handles automatic behaviors. To wire it, you need repetition, not necessarily pain. You need to grease the groove. So the powerful approach is to just show up. Do 20 minutes, but do it every day. Don't burn yourself out.
And what about when we fail? Because we will miss a day.
This is the key. The reactive person misses a day and they spiral into shame. I ruined it, I might as well quit. That shame is a massive power leak. The powerful person misses a day and simply restarts quickly. No drama, no big story, just, oops, missed yesterday, today I'm back.
Restart quickly. I think that might be the secret to everything.
It's the recovery time that matters, not the fall. You're proving to yourself day by day that you are the kind of person who shows up. That builds an identity, and action follows identity. That is building power from the inside out.
We've covered the leaks, we've covered the applications, but I want to talk about the traps. Because even when we know this stuff intellectually, we still fall into these potholes. What are the common mistakes people make when they try to come into this fullness of power?
There are 5 big ones that I see over and over and over again.
Let's hit them. What's the first major trap?
The first mistake is waiting for external conditions to be perfect before feeling powerful. You know, I'll be confident when I get the promotion. I'll be calm when the kids finally move out. I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds.
The arrival fallacy. We're always waiting to arrive somewhere.
Exactly. And this violates the core premise. Cause is within. If you wait for the external world to fix your internal state, you will wait forever. The fix is to realize you have to start building the internal state now. You cultivate the feeling of success, the feeling of calm, before the external proof arrives. You have to be it to see it.
What's the second mistake?
Confusing power with aggression. We touched on this, but it's so deep-seated in our culture. We think to be powerful, we have to be the alpha, the loudest voice, the one who pounds the table.
The Hollywood version of power.
Right. The fix is to realize that true power is calm. Aggression is almost always weakness masking as strength. It's insecure. Think of a true martial arts master. They're often the quietest person in the room because they know what they can do. They don't need to advertise it. If you have to shout that you're powerful, you aren't.
The third mistake. This one's tricky. Trying to use willpower to suppress negative thoughts.
This is fighting the darkness. If you have a dark room, you don't fight the darkness with a shovel. You don't try to push it out. You just let the light in. Trine says we waste so much energy wrestling with our bad habits or our fears. We obsess over them. The fix is to focus on the positive connection. Focus on the virtue you want. If you're fearful, don't fight the fear. Focus on courage. Focus on the task at hand. When the light comes in, the darkness vanishes automatically. It's displacement, not suppression.
Okay, the fourth mistake.
Inconsistency. This is the Sunday morning spirituality. You feel great after listening to a show like this or going to a service, but by Monday afternoon, you're right back to being a cork. You treat it like a spa treatment instead of a lifestyle.
Guilty as charged. It wears off.
It wears off because we don't renew it. The fix is to make it a moment-to-moment practice. Power is a muscle. You have to use it in the traffic jam, in the line at the grocery store, when you're writing that difficult email. You practice when the stakes are low, so you have it when the stakes are high.
And the final one, the fifth mistake.
Isolation. Thinking you have to do it all alone. As a separate ego. It's me against the world. That is the quickest way to burn out your battery. The fix is to recognize the oneness. You are supported by the infinite life. You are part of the ocean. When you feel that support, the burden lifts. You're not carrying the weight of the world. You're just playing your part in it.
I think that shift from me against the world to me flowing with the world is the whole game changer. It changes your physiology.
It changes everything.
I want to help our listeners actually do this. We promised a guided exercise. We're calling this the Power Alignment Reset.
This is a mental checklist you can run through anytime you feel that cork feeling starting to happen.
Yeah.
You can do it in your car, at your desk, anywhere. It only takes a couple of minutes.
Okay, let's walk through it step by step. First step.
First, identify one place you feel powerless right now. Just pick one. Is it a meeting you're dreading?
Yeah.
A relationship that feels stuck? Is it your bank account? Don't pick everything. Just bring one specific thing to mind.
Got it. Second step.
Name the leak. Look at that situation. What is draining you? Is it fear of the future? Is it resentment toward a person? Is it approval seeking? Be really honest. Name it. I am leaking power because I am afraid of looking stupid.
Okay, naming it takes the mystery away. Third step.
Choose one power principle to plug the leak. What's the antidote? If the leak is fear, the principle might be courage. If the leak is resentment, the principle could be forgiveness or maybe detachment. If the leak is chaos, the principle might be calm. Just pick your word.
Fourth step. This is the action step.
Choose one small action that proves that principle today. Not a huge fix, just a little proof. If your principle is calm, your action might be, I will take 3 deep breaths before I answer the phone. If your principle is integrity, your action might be, I will send that honest email I've been avoiding. Just one small proof.
Fifth step.
Remove one contradiction that drains power. Stop doing the thing that sabotages you. If you're worried about money, stop complaining about prices for one day. If you're worried about a relationship, stop gossiping about it to your friends. Close the back door so the energy stays in.
And the final step.
Close with a short reflection. Ask yourself this one question. What would clean power do next? It just cuts through all the noise. It accesses that internal architect. What would clean power do next? And then just do that.
That is a powerful toolkit. What would clean power do next? I think I'm going to write that on a sticky note and put it right on my monitor.
It clarifies things instantly. It takes you out of the emotional swamp and puts you back on solid ground.
We've covered so much ground today. I want to make sure we capture the essence of this before we sign off. Let's recap the key takeaways.
Let's do a quick summary.
First point.
True power is inner strength and alignment, not force. It's the rock, not the hurricane.
Second.
Fullness of power looks like calm confidence and steady attention. It is efficient and it's focused.
Third point.
We drain our power through those leaks, like fear, resentment, and ego. These are expensive emotions that we really can't afford.
Fourth.
Power is never domination. It includes humility and self-command. It's about ruling yourself, not other people.
Fifth point.
In work, we apply this by focusing on the next right task. We replace that panic with presence.
Sixth.
In relationships, we speak our truth calmly without trying to control the outcome. We let love take no account of evil.
And the final point.
We maintain power by aligning with our highest principle and acting from it consistently. We clean our own windows so the light can come in.
That is a fantastic summary. This has been a really eye-opening discussion for me. It's amazing how a book from 1897 can feel so relevant to our modern burnout culture.
It's because the human condition hasn't really changed. We have better phones, but we have the same fears, and the solution is the same. Connecting to something deeper than all the surface chaos.
Speaking of connecting, we are not done with Ralph Waldo Trine yet. We have another discussion coming up.
We do. Episode number 9 is going to be a special one. We are discussing the great law of the giving of life.
That sounds intriguing.
It's the great paradox of power. We talked today about getting power, but our next conversation is about how the more you give of your power, the more it grows. It's all about circulation and service. It really completes the picture.
I can't wait for that one. Thank you all for listening to this conversation on the nature of true power. I hope you feel a little more like the ocean and a little less like the cork.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.